Lucknow, India. This is a legendary city, and even if you live outside of India, you've probably heard of this city. It is one of the most diverse cities in India, with the largest Shia Muslim population and a history that dates back hundreds and hundreds of years. For a long time, it was considered one of the gems of architecture here in India because of the Muslim influences that have long affected this part of the world. It is an incredible place, and it is one destination that you just simply cannot miss in India. So with that, we're going to begin a full guide here in the city of Lucknow. This is one of the most incredible cities I've seen here in this country. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the adventure started.
जो यहाँ का फेमस है लखनऊ के ड्रेस शर्ट.
Even after getting on a rickshaw, the other rickshaws still are trying to get me to get on theirs. It's a crazy business here in Lucknow. And just like that, we have officially made it to the old center town of Lucknow. And here, there are just so many historic architectural sites to see. It is genuinely impressive how incredible this place is. But we've come to the first stop right behind me here. This is a massive, massive structure. It is called Rumi Darwaza or Rumi Gate. This was built by the Nawabs. The Nawabs are basically the viceroys or the local rulers here under the Mughal Empire, and therefore they brought a lot of their Islamic architecture here to Lucknow. We're going to be seeing so many buildings that combine the best of Islamic architecture with the local locations in order to produce some of the most incredible architectural sites, and this is one of them. Rumi Darwaza stands at over 60 feet tall. It is a massive, massive structure, and it used to be the main gateway into the old town of Lucknow. In fact, right behind this gate, there used to be a palace which was unfortunately destroyed by the Brits during the rebellion in the 1800s. That comes as no surprise considering the history of India. However, this is a massive, massive structure. Like I said, it is one of the most important structures here in India, and it is a symbol of Lucknow. Like, you cannot come to Lucknow and miss this. Now, to be honest, the entire gate is closed. You're not allowed to walk through the gate. You can see there's a huge barricade here, and there are police officers here that will prevent you from even getting close to the gate. So it is a protected monument now. But just seeing the sort of massive magnificence of the empires that have come here, the Nawab, the cultures that were building these architectural designs, I mean, it is very, very impressive, comparable to those structures we saw in Agra, as it was built roughly a little after the time period of buildings like the Taj Mahal in Agra. Now, right next to Rumi Gate or Rumi Darwaza is this incredible structure right behind me, one of the landmark symbols of Lucknow. This is Imambara. Imambara was a big structure built to commemorate the sacrifice of those Muslims who starved and didn't have any water for 3 days and then actually passed away here. Now, this entire structure is just commemorated for them, and it speaks to the purity of the practices and teachings of Islam. Actually, Imambara now is an Imambara campus. People actually come here and study and focus on Islam and train to have the sort of authentic version of Islam. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of this video that Lucknow is the largest population of Shia Muslims in Lucknow. So the type of Islam that's being followed here is Shia Islam. It's not Sunni Islam, and you can tell in the architectural style and the type of mosque that is around here that this is not like, Saudi Arabia and other countries. This is Shia Islam, and this is sort of an area of pilgrimage where a lot of people actually come and study and focus on training in Shia Islam. Imagine building all of this in order to celebrate a religious martyr. I mean, I don't know how much money this empire had or how much money the Nawabs had, but trust me, it is a lot of money. This part of the actual Imambara is called the Labyrinth. It is literally a labyrinth. It's full of these tiny little holes. I mean, this entire structure is just this magnificent, big complex filled with all these different buildings, and to be honest, it's so easy to get lost in here. I don't even know where I am right now. And the thing is also, this entire color is pink. This entire building is pink in color. It kind of gives sort of Jaipur vibes again, but at the same time, like, this is a building that was about the 1700s, 1600s. It was built during that time, so it's only a few hundred years old. And yet it is so magnificent. I mean, these labyrinths extend on and on. You have no idea where you're going half the time. It's pretty impressive, to be honest. And it is actually a lot of fun if you come to Imambara. I'm literally walking down this very straight hallway in the labyrinth, and I have no idea how to get out of here. Like, I've tried 3 different exits. I can't seem to leave this place. I'm actually stuck in Lucknow. Help me. I'm legit stuck in Lucknow. I can't get out of this place. I don't know who constructed this hundreds of years ago, but if you're trying to trap some, oh my god, it's a dead end. Well, make that the 4th failed attempt to try and get out of here. I'm glad to say that I did manage to survive and get out of Imambara. I mean, that was a really, really cool place. I think it's really fascinating to see how intricate, how impressive, how magnificent of a structure they've built in the name of Islam and the name of Shia Islam. I think it is probably one of the most beautiful things you can see here in Lucknow and one of the main symbols of this place. So you've got to come here when you're here in Lucknow. They're a little strict on cameras, but if you go into the labyrinth and get lost in there, pretty sure you won't even know where you are. Now, just a few minutes away by rickshaw from where we were earlier is this place here called Chowk. Chowk means market. And I read about it online and it said it was a really nice place to get to know a little bit about the local life, but I feel like I kind of got scammed. It is not a great place to be. It's kind of a very sketchy part of town. People have come up to me and told me that this is a dangerous part of town. They told me to sort of take care of my belongings. They told me that I shouldn't be going solo. So I was gonna recommend this place and tell you more about Chowk, but there's a lot of kids that are begging as well, and they're gonna try and steal things as well. So not the greatest place to be. I was gonna tell you more about Chowk, but to be honest, I wouldn't even recommend this part of Lucknow. So this part you can probably skip. No need to focus too much on it. On the other hand, you come to Chowk and you see people riding on horses. I guess there's a good side to it, but every place has a good side and a bad side. And here in Chowk, here in Lucknow, the same thing is true. Yeah, 50. The rickshaw driver just wanted to quote me a price of 5,000, which is ridiculous when he meant to say 50. He wanted to say 50. Truly, some of the rickshaw drivers here. It's better to speak to them in Hindi than in English. You don't know what you're paying for. Now, far away from the actual dangerous, well, not really dangerous, but sketchy at least, Chowk area of Lucknow, we've come to this incredible, I mean, still kind of dirty, but really nice area, and this clock tower right behind me. This is the Husainabad Clock Tower here in Lucknow, another one of those symbols of this city. Now, this clock tower is special because it was built by the Nawab, who was one of the rulers here, for the arrival of a British first colonel, something like that, a really important military figure in England who was coming over. But I think at this point, it might be worth mentioning what was the relationship between the Nawabs and the Mughals and the Brits. I mean, it all can get kind of confusing. So here's a rundown of what happened. Basically, at the end of the Mughal Empire, when they were getting really, really weak, a lot of the different areas of India started having its own sort of fiefdoms. Now, Lucknow was one of those fiefdoms in which the Nawab sort of ruled over it, but they were still sort of under the Mughal Empire, but eventually they gained their own independence from the Mughal Empire. So they were very powerful here. They had their own capital, their own system, their own laws. They were very much independent still, especially when the Mughal Empire was getting pretty weak. But at the end of the sort of Nawab era was when the Brits came and they ruled over India. And Lucknow was actually known for one of the legendary rebellions against the British rulers because a lot of the Indians were not happy with it and they wanted to fight back. And Lucknow was one of the biggest points of fighting between the local people and the Brits. I mean, this was in the 1800s when the Brits were trying to sort of rule over India, and the Indians here in Lucknow put up a very, very serious fight. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, India still won. The British Raj ruled over all of India, and this is in a way a very sore spot. So yes, it is a symbol of Lucknow, but it isn't necessarily the best symbol of Lucknow, and in a lot of people's minds, it's a bit of a sore spot that speaks to a colonial past that India is dying to get rid of since the Brits came. Can you imagine that this was built at a price of £2,000? But £2,000 in the 1800s, not £2,000 today. I mean, if you count for inflation, that was probably a lot of money that they spent trying to greet this British ruler. That's why a lot of Indians feel like the Brits plundered them. And in a lot of ways, doing these huge construction projects for the Brits who were coming over was very much a scam and depleted India of its natural resources and its people that they had here. I'm so shocked to find that that is the clock tower, and right next to it is this massive lake with these incredible stairwells that go down. I mean, I'm assuming that this was a lake built for a retention pond, but I can't be sure, so if you know exactly why this lake was built, please comment down below. But it's really nice, and I think you can even see that there might be some fountains here at night, or maybe some light shows at least at night. That would be really cool. Really interesting place actually. Lucknow is turning out to be better than I thought. Well, aside from the whole chalk area earlier, that was kind of sketchy. But this looks really nice. If I look like I'm drenched, I am. Literally, a massive rainstorm just came into Lucknow, and I was stuck under a tree. There was no shelter, and now I am soaked from head to toe. But just now we were at the clock tower talking about the history of how the Nawab would build this clock tower for the entry of the colonel. If that's not even a sore spot, then this definitely will be a sore spot in Indian history. This is the Residency. And you might be thinking, the Residency? That sounds like an English name. It is an English name. In fact, this was the result of a treaty signed between the Nawabs and the British government at the time of the British Empire, and that they would have to keep a British resident here. So that's why the Nawab at the time had to build the Residency. The Residency is a piece of land composed of over 33 acres with all different gardens and buildings and different structures that the British would be able to use. A lot of military colonels and lieutenants used to stay here, and it was also a very sore spot during the War of 1857, which is called the First War of Independence here in India. There were a lot of sieges here, a lot of attacks by local Indians against the actual Brits that were living here. And sadly enough, a lot of the buildings are all in like English. They're all like saying like the British colonel did this, the British lieutenant did this. It's the result of a colonial past that continues to haunt India to this day. But this is the Residency. It's a massive set of buildings, and we're gonna go ahead and explore it. It takes some time. Like I said, it's 33 acres. Of course, not all 33 acres are accessible, but this is one of the main things to do in Lucknow to get a better understanding of the past and the history of the city. So with that, let's go ahead and let's explore the past of Lucknow through the Residency. You can tell that even though this was built for the Brits, it was built by the Nawabs. I mean, look at these scalloped arches. This is classic Muslim architecture at its finest. They may have been building it for Brits who were coming in to invade, but they did not skimp on the beauty of this place. This is why it's one of the conserved sites here in India, and they're doing a very good job of trying to protect it as much as they can, because it may be a sore spot in their history, but nonetheless, it's still part of their history. You can literally see the intricate designs that are still here hundreds of years later. Just speaks to the impressiveness of the empire here and the impressiveness of the sculpture. I mean, look at this sort of artwork. This is just absolutely incredible. Now this building right here would have been the treasury. This would have been where the British Empire would have stored its treasures that had maybe looted and plundered from the Indian people, from other Indian buildings. And this is also the place where they would have collected tax revenue and probably stored it right here. You can imagine how full the coffers of the British Empire must have been at that time. I mean, look at how much space is in here, how many gold bars you could have placed in here and protected safely. Obviously, those times are long gone. The British Empire is no longer, it is a shell of its past, but you can still see the remnants of what happened here. And the British Empire didn't fund this. This was all funded by the Nawab as a result of a treaty they signed with the Brits. I mean, if there's one way to conquer the world, the Brits really knew how to do it. Now this building right here would have been the banquet hall, where the Brits would have enjoyed lavish feasts with salons and everything. Now you might think that this looks like a pretty rundown building. It is a very rundown building, but compared to its past, it is nothing compared to what it used to be. Like massive chandeliers, silk divans that will cover everything. I mean, this was like living like a king. This was like a palace. There were like 20 something saloons in this massive banquet hall. People will come, there'd be golden chandeliers that would be shining light all through the night. This was luxury. But now, as a result of the siege of 1857, this is what's left. This is what remains. Just a bunch of bare-bone pillars and a bunch of black burned walls from the fires and cannonballs that struck these buildings. I mean, all of this right here, I mean, this is what the result was. This is a cannonball that probably hit. I mean, you can also see more right over there in that corner over there. There are just so many injuries to these buildings that what we have left today are just a bunch of remains from a very, very tough past in India's history. But you can imagine how lavish this place must have been when the Brits were living here and they were having the best time of their life, not knowing what would come afterwards. This is the ancient sewage line. And yes, they're still discovering more things around here. This place was only discovered around early 2000s. They were digging, or late 1900s. And as they continue to dig up more, they're finding more and more evidence of different things that the Brits needed to survive here at the Residency. It's interesting. It's a living archaeological site. And who knows, in 10 years, they might find more things to show the public. And just like that, we have left the Residency, which is written very clearly right there. I mean, I have to say first off, that is a massive complex. It is 33 acres large. I mean, I didn't even show you a lot of the building. Even the main Residency building, I didn't even show you because there's a lot of security around there, and in India, they're pretty strict about the camera. But even without that, I mean, just considering the history behind those gates, it's a very, very sore spot for a lot of Indians, and the whole freedom fighter movement in the 1800s. It's a very, very sore part of Indian history, having built all of this just for the Brits to come over and reside here. But nonetheless, it is still a part of Indian history. And to be fair, walking around, you kind of get a sense of why they would build it here. I mean, it's peaceful, you've got a lot of greenery, you've got palm trees. If I was a Brit wanting Residency, I'd want it here too. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful place inside. But just think about the history and the people that laid down their culture for this place, for the Brits to come and enjoy the life that the local people should deserve. That is pretty heartbreaking, but like I said, it is part of the Indian history, and there's no doubt that when you're here in Lucknow, in order to understand this country and the city better, you have to visit the Residency. Now, if there's one thing people love to do when they come to Lucknow, that is to shop. And here we are, we're no longer at Chowk, which is the other area. We are currently in Aminabad, which is a part that is known for selling this stuff. Saris. Lots and lots of clothes are sold here. This is a typical spot to get saris made, to get clothes made. And to be fair, a lot of places here in Uttar Pradesh are famous for their saris. Varanasi was also famous for their saris. But it's a nice place just to walk around, see the local vendors, see some locals getting their saris made, and have a feel for a little Indian culture here in Lucknow. I think he's a very aggressive seller right here. He's got the stick and all. He's gonna convince you to buy something, I think. Japan stores. I'm sure that's exactly where you can get Japanese stuff. Absolutely sure of it. Well, final stop of the day here in Lucknow, and I think I found a hidden gem. This place here is called Kudiya Ghat. Now, yes, there are ghats here in Lucknow, and there's actually a river in Lucknow. This is the Gomti River. It isn't the Ganges, it's not as big as the Ganges, but it is a river that runs through Lucknow, and because of that, you have a series of ghats actually along the river, which are sort of corners of the river. You see beautiful little pagodas like the one behind me and the one right over there literally dot the riverside here in Lucknow. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and locals are coming out here enjoying the sunset. It is an absolutely incredible place to come to, actually. So I think I found a little hidden gem. I'm really happy with this find. This might actually be one of my favorite places in Lucknow. So yeah, definitely when you're coming here in the evening time, come down to here, Kudiya Ghat. It's not that far away from the main sort of areas with the Mambara area. It's not that far. It's like a 10-minute walk maximum, and you get to this incredible place right behind me. But with that, that marks the end of our video here in the incredible city of Lucknow. What an incredible city it is. I mean, I have to say, some people told me Lucknow's not really worth it, it's just any other ordinary big city, but to be honest, in my opinion, it's not. I mean, first off, you got things like this. Beautiful, beautiful riverside pagodas that are just incredible. And then you've got massive Nawab architecture. And then you have British history, the British residency that you can visit. There's so much to do here in Lucknow that it is absolutely underrated as a destination. And I don't know why more people aren't coming. Lucknow is absolutely incredible. And I just think it's definitely one of the top things you have to see here in India. And don't forget the food, but that will be for another video, so make sure to check that out as well. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video right here from the Gomti River here in Lucknow. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more food and travel videos. And that's it. That's goodbye from the beautiful, beautiful city of Lucknow. We have more adventures coming from India, different states, different provinces, different cities. So make sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys.